Welcome back to Oval Window Garage with Oval Window Racing. I'm Clinton, and we're back on another Hubert build. Probably can't see Hubert there. We'll show you Hubert. Hubert is my daughter's 63 Volkswagen Beetle, and we're actually today going to be working on his power plant. Normally Emily is here with us, but she actually got a big person job and has moved out of state. But don't worry, when we do get around to doing the final assembly on Hubert's power plant, I'm going to try to make sure that we do it with her, because nothing better than watching her put the engine all together, piece by piece by piece, until it's completed. Yeah, so hopefully that won't take too long. But today I got some wonderful products to show you. We'll start with the IDA manifolds by Empi. We have the stainless steel windage tubes. You can see one end is a little bit bigger than the other. That's supposed to help with oil splash. Also by Empi. A nice set of racial rockers. These are a 1:4-to-1 racial rocker, which is going to work well with her FK8 cam we're going to use. That's ground for racial rockers. And of course, you guys seen the oil tee. I've had this in a video earlier. And bug pack cut to length chromoly pushrod tubes. These are also sold by Empi. Now, these are not. These are AA Automotive 94 cylinder sleeves that we will be putting a set of Mila 94 pistons in. Before we can put all these fine products on the engine, we still have a lot more to go. We've got some final steps to do, and one of them is to acquire a deck height. We're going to shoot for 40 thousandths, and that way when we go to order a set of heads, we'll figure the compression ratio out and we'll know what cc heads to get. But yeah, and we also have to trial fit the cylinder sleeves here, because we are going to be using a 10mm head stud, and sometimes these things are casted with a little bit more material on them, and you have to remove them to get them to fit. So we're going to temporarily put the head studs in the engine case and slide each piston cylinder on the engine, and we'll probably give them a home. So we're going to go and number each one of these. Then we'll clean them all up and put the pistons in them, and then go figure out a deck height. But yeah, let's get started. Yeah, as I put those products away, keep them someplace safe for the final assembly, I do want to point out, if you do want any of these fine products, be sure to find your local Empi dealer and see what they can offer you. Okay, head studs are in. We actually chose to use an OEM, stock head stud kit instead of purchasing a chromoly one this time. I've always heard people say that these run better for like cold startups and stuff, especially 10mm ones, because there's a heat expansion rate on all these metals, and I don't know. We thought we'd try it this time. I got an extra head stud. I generally kind of like to run a deep stud on number 3 here. They say the factory started running a deep stud on here just to help keep from the case from cracking here on the back behind number 3. But my machinist chose not to do that this time. He said sometimes the cases aren't really set up to do that. And I don't know if he was just worried that maybe it was just too thin, back here already. So we're going to go with the machinist this time and see what he has to say. So I had an extra stud left over, because the stud kit that I pulled off of an engine actually had the deep stud, and this one doesn't, so I had to actually use a regular head stud that goes there off a separate engine. Actually, I think it was a donor engine that we tore down. That was no good. Yep, we'll move on now to trial fit some cylinders. Now I generally like to lay my cylinders out on the table here like this, and I've already given them their home. I just kind of pretend that this is an engine, and drop the cylinders. No, don't do that, don't recommend that. But yeah, we kind of already give them their home. Put them on their flat spot here so they don't roll off, but pretend that there's a crank here. So we'll call this number 1, number 3, number 2, and number 4. And what I'll do is I'll go figure out where the top is going to be, and I'll nick. You guys have probably seen me do this in the past, but I'll put a little nick on the upper fin here just to indicate that this is 1, and I'll put 2 on number 2, 3 on number 3, and of course 4 nicks on number 4. Just the way I like to roll. But yeah, like I said, these are brand new. and I can never tell. I'm going to say that these are not. I thought AA Automotive used to like paint their cylinders, but I'm thinking these are probably raw. I'll probably give them a nice coat of paint. Just what I like to do. And I'll save the bags here because I'll probably put the other cylinders that I got the pistons in right now just for spares. And these got a nice coat of oil in them, and it'll help keep them from future rusting. The reason we're not running the cylinders that the pistons are in right now is because the engine that came off of, not one of my engines, but a friend's engine that I redid here recently had taken on water at one time, and the cylinders were a little rusty on the inside and they didn't hone very well. I actually was going to consider running them just as a test to see, you know, how long they would last, if the rings would last long or not, or if they wear out. I mean, I wasn't too worried about it. You set of rings, you set of pistons. You know, if they didn't work, you know, we'll just purchase new ones. It was an experiment I was going to try, but since it's the daughter's engine, and like I said, she's got a big person job now, we decided to put brand new cylinders in, and I got to check the rings out. If I'm not happy with the ring gaps, we'll probably put a new set of rings on there. But the reason I'm not too worried, because the second rings are a total seal ring, so they should seal up good. It'd be the upper ring that I'd be worried about. But yeah, that's something to consider, and yeah, we'll take a look at it and take some measurements and go from there. All right, so I've got the engine set up here. Looks like that's a 3 and 4 side. So I'm going to grab number 3 and see how it fits. And when I do that, I should get my big steering wheel out. I'm going to just have the rod down at the bottom. I'm not worried about putting the cylinder on yet. As long as it's down there, it should be safe. So here's cylinder number 3. These head studs are just in there loosely. Oh, nice. That looked like it went bottomed all the way out. That's good. That's what we wanted to see. Let's take the magic marker, and we're going to mark this. We'll just put a number 3 up on the top here. So when I go to put the little nick in, I'll know that that's top and that that's number 3. Let's try number 4. All right, drop number 4 down here. Carefully grab number 4. This one's a little tighter. There. Get a good look here, and looks like we're bottomed out. The other thing, just learning from experience, I like to check and make sure that the cylinder doesn't bottom out on the machine work down here. I've had that happen one time, and you keep stacking shims to try to figure out deck height, and you wind up sticking a whole bunch in there before the cylinder starts to move. This looks good. Looks like we've got plenty of clearance down there too. Alright, let's carefully roll the engine over and try the other side. Alright, number 1's going to be here, so let's roll the rod down carefully and grab number 1 cylinder here. This is where it gets tricky because I'm upside down and backwards compared to the engine. Come on, stick it on there properly. It goes all the way down. That's good. Last thing I hate doing is to dry material off after I've already got everything all in the pistons and everything's painted. And we forgot to mark number 1. Number 1 spot is up here. Roll number 2 down. That one went nice and easy, and we are all the way down there. And before I get going too much further, we're pretty oily on top. Hopefully it stays. Number 2. All right, I'm going to mark those, probably clean, give them a bath, re-oil them, and then install some cylinders. Those are cylinders. Install some pistons after removing them out of the old cylinders, and clean, probably give them a good cleaning. Okay, we're back. I got the pistons, cylinders all cleaned up and marked, and the pistons in the cylinders. Here, take a look. Here we go. We'll start out with number 1 here, and I'll show you. Again, we're on the top. It's kind of hard to see, but there's the neck right there. And then, of course, I don't know if you can see way down in there. There's some light here. I have a number 1 stamped on the top, and then, of course, there's an arrow over here. That's the factory that points towards the flywheel. So I know that the piston is in. It's incorrectly pointing towards the top. So we've already got cylinder number 1 rod up here. So we'll install cylinder number 1 first and check the deck height. And if we're lucky, we won't need to run any shims. If we're not lucky, I gotta look and see if I have any shims in stock. If not, I should be able to get a good idea what size shim I need. I don't own a machine shop, but I prefer not to run any if I didn't have to. Rod bolt all in there, and this will also give me a good chance to make sure that the piston will travel up and down and not hit anything and clear everything. So I don't remember if I did that yet or not. There we'll go. Oil the rings a little bit. I haven't run them up and down yet. But this here is my deck height measuring tool. Just pretty much lightly bolted on here. Let's give this a little tilt so we can see it better. Alright, now we need some bolts. This is a kit I bought a long time ago. So my buddy there, Doug at Weapons Collective Edge, actually said if I give him this base, he might be able to make me another one. It's kind of nice to do 2 at one time. Now the object is just to snug these down. You can't really torque them down to specs. Believe me, I tried it. That's why these things are bent. Once we got it snug, is the object is just to run the piston up to the top slowly. And I don't think it's going to bottom out. We've already kind of checked that. Or will it? Oh man. We got 10 thousandths. That's amazing. I believe that's what that. Let me get my smarticles here. A little closer look at that. That's 90 and that's 0, so that's 10 thousandths in between there. So we're going to write that down, and then we'll just go in and see what it is on number 2 here. And then we'll move on to 3 and 4. I forgot a step. Since we're all the way at the top here, we're going to slowly take it all the way down to the bottom. Make sure it doesn't snag or stick or touch anything else. And we'll make 2 full complete revolutions. It actually stopped at 9 that time. We'll take another look. All the way up. That's a little over 9 thousandths. All right, smarticles. Let's take another look and see where we're at. We got number 2 here. Go down. Slowly come up. I hope we have relatively the same amount. This one's saying roughly 3 thousandths, and it's that's almost 0, but you're probably never really ever going to get exactly the same, because you got, you know, machine work on the crank, got machine work on the rods, you know, and the pistons, and then the cylinders are all going to be off a little bit here or there. So that's almost 6 thousandths difference. And, you know, I don't know how much that big deal that is. I seen in Hot VW's magazine that they did a article where they blueprinted an engine, and they found the piston or the cylinder that had the most gap, and then they actually machined the top of the pistons to match the other ones. You know, what I probably should do here is put cylinder number 1 back on and run a straight edge across to make sure that that machine work, you know, and the deck is close, and that both the cylinders are sitting pretty level and straight with one another. But yeah, we'll have to write that one down and then go and measure the other two. And I'm going to roll this up and down a couple times and make sure that everything's seated correctly, and then move on. Now for the fun part. To see how the case is machined on cylinder 3 and 4. One of the guys I used to use always drove me nuts, because it always seemed like he had 10 thousandths more taken off of this side of the case than he did the other. And he refused to say it was his fault. He said there's no possible way, the way he fixed it in his machine, that would happen, but it always did. Wow, that's almost 0 deck height. You see that? It might be 0. You get the readers on, take a closer look. Yeah, I'm seeing 0, and I'm not feeling it stop. Let's write that down. I always like to take notes because I can never remember anything. It's always good to look back on it. So what I'll do is write the deck height at the beginning, and then over here, after I do my corrections, if I do corrections, I mean, you could always run a copper head gasket and call this good, having all the quench in the head. Or I could run some cylinder shims. But yeah, let's roll this up and down a couple of times, and then mount number 4 and see where we're at there. It seems to be that we're going down, so hopefully number 4 doesn't like bottom out. Okay, the last cylinder, number 4. Are we going to bottom out, or are we going to come close? Oh, it actually went under. Huh. I wonder if my dial indicator is moving. It's actually a new one that I've picked up, well, new to me. So how can we be past 0 but not past 0? I mean, how do I write that down? -0. I'm interested in if I could even fit. I don't think I could fit a feeler gauge down in there. We will call that, I think, 0. I will double check the indicator when I pull it off here, make sure it's still 0. Roll this a couple times. And I'm not feeling it hit anything, which is good. Yeah, but like I said, we're just doing a rough deck height reading right now, so we can see where we're at and what shims we need to purchase. And then we'll do it all over again with the shims. And like I said, you can kind of move the shims around, because all the shims are most generally all the shims are just stamped, so they're never all the same size anyways either. So you can kind of shuffle them around and try to even everything back out. But yeah, I think the first thing I'm gonna have to do is run a straight edge, at least across number 1 and 2, and make sure that they're all kind of even. Yeah, I'm gonna take this piston back out, stick it over here, probably put everything back into boxes, and probably call it a day. So yeah, keep cruising. All right, I didn't like that. Didn't like seeing the measurements all different like that. So I actually took time, went through everything back off camera, and I constantly was checking the 0 on the gauge just to make sure it didn't change. And I remeasured everything, and the numbers came out much better. Number 3 was still the same at about 1 thousandths, but number 1 and 4 were 5 thousandths, and number 2 was 7 thousandths. So yeah, that makes me feel a little better. I guess it's something I'm going to have to keep an eye on with this new to me gauge. And tell you the honest truth, I should probably find a better way of zeroing it out. I should talk with my buddy, the Weapons Collective Edge, to see if he can mill me some something that's nice and flat, so I can always put the gauge on there instead of what I do put it on, because it's not exactly, you know, 100% true. So yeah, that's kind of my fault, and that's kind of on me. But yeah, like I said, this is just a rough measurement to see where we need to start out with shims. And yeah, now I've got a better idea. And yeah, like I said, I need to talk with Doug here and see if he can machine me something a little bit more secure to zero things out on. It'd be really nice to have a good flat piece of steel, even to do some sanding work on, so I can have my own mill. But yeah, let's move on and get out of here. Talk at you later. Yeah, keep cruising, keep shifting those gears, and always enjoy the ride. Let's get out of here.
I was just another guy